From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big evening of Evenings LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update. It's 2021. In this recording, we go over the negotiations that are not done. What happened? The negotiations continue for this recon as Americans await the president's return. But guess what? More programs are going in and more programs are going out. In this recording, we'll learn how the president blocked the roads and bridges with a vote. Oh boy. Yeah, you're hearing it for the first time tonight. 1.75 is the price point right now, but we're not done at that price point. More items could be added across the board. Then the programs in and programs out. You're going to be excited as more programs are going in that, as legislators say, there are big missing gaps in this recon. Then get ready because fifth stimulus and COLA benefits are coming. That raise of your benefits around the corner, and then student loan debt. More debt has been offered to be forgiven by the president. Should they accept it? They should. I have those incredible details and more as we go into a big evening. So many things happening across the board, and this is what we thought was going to happen with the recon. It is happening with the recon with Halloween upon us, coming and going, Halloween here and then Halloween gone, and sort of like Kristen running her marathons. There she was. We had an agreement with her. It's gone. Well, guess what? The recon's getting better. It's not going to get worse. More items being added in there. The recon growing. More items being proposed. And the Senate parliamentarian ruling next week about something. It's big because it concerns your money. Those details and more as we go into a big evening. I'm excited you're here. We're all ready to rock and roll. It's a big evening, and the evening's excitement starts right now. I hope you're having a beautiful evening and hope your Halloween went well. Well, deal will be happening with the recon. There is no deal just yet. Wait, what a second? Yeah, you may have thought that it was a deal last Thursday. It did not happen. Why? The latest details. Who's blocking the roads and bridges? The president's office is. Oh boy, you're going to get deliciousness in this recording. Price tag 1.75, but we could be going higher as more items are being added in there. And this is, as the legislators say, there's major gaps in this recon. Those gaps in this recon are being filled up, and the fill is happening as negotiations continue. More student loan debt could be forgiven. Whose debts? I have the latest details on that. And then COLA benefits, those COLA raises coming across the board. It's a big evening with a lot of details that you need to know. It's a very robust weekend where we thought we were just going to see trick, treat, and candy. You're also seeing modifications to the recon. It's a big night, and it starts right now. And this is Evenings LA. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers is a YouTube record. I want your part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. 3.5 weeks ago, a recon passed a subcommittee of the House that was at a price tag of $3.5 trillion. But while the recon shrunk in the weeks that followed thereafter, the recon still has big money in there. How much? It'll pay the viewers of this channel on average about $15,000. Yes, this is if you are a single individual. This is if you are married. This is if you're with children, without children, on disabilities, not on disabilities. The clusters passed. 3 of them. What's the status of each of the clusters? We're going to go over each of them starting right now. 3 clusters, 3 add-ons, and we're going to go start with the first cluster starting right this moment. Hazard pay in there. Survived. $4,000 of elder care in there as well. Then $4,000 of young children's money as well. The CTC broadened the eligibility for 1 more year. Survived. Then the money for home repairs survived as well. Very exciting. Those home repairs for low-income housing definitely got in there. Free home repairs. Then also, the money for the students, the Pell Grant, additional $550, and then making the Pell Grant now tax-free. Money to the university and to the students as well. Then the money for cars, trucks, and bikes. It was already law pre-Trump. They're expanding for another 10 years. 15% for the purchase of a new electric bike, then a car for personal use, $7,500, a little bit more for business use. That's the first cluster. Everything in the first cluster survived. Everything in there still in there. But Here's a programming note. When I say survived in or out, it's at the time of this recording. Situation is very fluid. So if it's out today, it could be in tomorrow. Those details continue right now with the first add-on. And the first add-on comes from Bob Casey. And, Maxine Waters. And that is the $25,000 for the purchase price of your first home. Did it survive? No, it did not. Not at that price point. But other items in the home did survive. Maxine Waters' other home items survived, which were home repairs, rent, utilities, mortgage assistance. Third stimulus, $48 billion. This one, nearly $200 billion. 500% bigger. Wow, this is incredible, great news. Let's go to the second cluster. Here we go. We got home repairs in there as well. More about that in a second, but let's go over the second cluster and see the survival rate of these items. Family leave out, medical leave out, then household tax credit in there. The pre-kindergarten survived, tuition-free community college out, and then the weatherize in your home, it survived. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. You need to weatherize your home every Halloween, because guess what? Someone's going to come knocking. It's going to be Kristen Sinema, and you're going to say, trick or treat. She's going to say, I don't know. I made a decision. Come back to me in 5 months from now. Joe Manchin's going to come knocking on Halloween. You're going to say, trick or treat. He's going to say, call. Trick or treat. Do you want some candy, Joe? No, I want coal. Lots of coal. It's West Virginia. No, I don't care. It's still I want more coal. Let's go to the second add-on. And it comes from Bob Casey. Great news is it survived. This is a big win for my viewers. This is free home health care if you're on disability or you are a senior. The president did this as a campaign promise. He got this in there. They wanted to do $250 billion. They needed to get $250 billion. But they got a little bit less. And this is huge. This is the Bob Casey provision. He Senator Bob Casey from Pennsylvania, 61-year-old Democrat. Let's go to the third cluster of add-ons. And here is where you're going to see something brand new on Evenings LA. I'm going to show you the shocker right now. You're going to hear one provision in this third cluster I never mentioned before, and I'll explain why I never mentioned it, but why I mention it today. In the third cluster, passed was free school meals for all, survived. Prescription medication, passed, but now out. Immigration reform, passed, and still in there, brand new on Evenings LA. Farmers, passed, but I believe it's out. The free internet passed, but I believe it's out. Clean energy passed, but now out. And then the workers' protection, I believe, out. And then the Medicare expansion, dental, vision, hearing. Let me explain a little bit about that on air with also the immigration reform. So they wanted to do three things for the seniors. First, expand Medicare into 50-something states. They got that. Then they want to drop the Medicare eligibility from 65 to 60 if you're Bob Casey, or 55 if you're Bernie Sanders. I don't think they got it in there. Then the dental, vision, hearing, only the hearing survive. Now let's go to that immigration reform. Yeah, you're hearing for the first time ever. It's always been in this third cluster, but I don't say it on air because it doesn't really concern us. Well, breaking news right now, you're hearing on Evenings LA, is that the recon, as it is right now, will be represented a second time to the Senate parliamentarian next week. And insiders believe that the immigration reform provision will not survive. Good news for you if it doesn't survive, because guess what? That money will stay in the recon and will get reallocated to programs for you. One of the programs that could be reallocated to, it could be, is that MSC IRS monthly stimulus check provision. We have a couple of serious big developing details about the MSC tonight, which is the one I just told you. The second one is Chuck Schumer. Interesting part of the equation, as you're going to see in the second half of this video, stay with me because we got a lot in this video, is Chuck Schumer was not part of that trio on Thursday that was unhappy the roads and bridges wasn't called for a vote. Good news, because Chuck Schumer is much more progressive. You're going to hear three people very unhappy about that roads and bridges not called for a vote, not Chuck Schumer. Also, big news, as Donnie reached out to Chuck Schumer's office and Liz Warren and got the assurances after he advocated that stimulus checks provision is still in there. This is after Donnie's wife was told the same thing the week before that, and Debbie Applegate, another view across the board. Very big details also about that MSC is that we have the recon with big House and Senate Democrats and progressives saying big gaps. A lot of things missing. I'm adding things in there. And they're saying that even as the MSC is heating up And let's go over what you need to do. It may be a weekend, it may be a weekday, but you need to advocate. You can always leave a voicemail on their voice messages. Here's the top message from the top legislator for the recon and his top chief of staff. They now have in total between congressional and senatorial offices received more context of advocacy for the LA Purple Power than number of signatures in the American petition, 3 million. Everyone's amazed by the outpouring of touching stories from the LA viewers. Now they have a better understanding of what people are doing to get through this pandemic. They have heartbreaking stories, and they have the voice of the people in you, LA, as you have become too loud to be ignored. Very, very kind message. You know, when you say I'm too loud to be ignored, I think it's the head. I think it's the costume. That costume is too loud. Please continue your encouragement for the continued advocacy as the professional voice of the people you have become, and continue this until this becomes law. Very, very kind, very, very important. How many calls did you make today? Says Jennifer. Always in the live chat, she'll ask, how many calls did you make today to advocate? You're going to see in the second half of this video that we have 12 House and Senate Democrats saying, I'm advocating. You're going to see Pramila saying, my phone is on fire because I gained so many text messages about people advocating to add stuff in there. You need to advocate. In the second half of this video, we have a lot. Who would have known that a weekend, the news cycle would be so robust? Even though the president's overseas, even though broadcast media is trying to get a free trip to Rome, we see breaking details as the recon is not done. Why is it not done? I have the latest details as more programs are going into the recon. Price tag is 1.75, but could go higher as well. Programs being added. Which are they? Those details. And then student loan debt forgiveness. More debt could be forgiven. Those big COLA raises, I want to have that with this stimulus as the chairman of the Federal Reserve testifying on Capitol Hill this coming week. It's a big evening's broadcast. A lot of breaking news. Stay with me. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. But first, here's a little bit about the community page. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. They're Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals. Reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now on Evenings LA as a deal is happening but has not yet happened. Why is this? I have the latest details. LA told you so. That the roads and bridges is not happening for a vote. And tonight you learn that the president was behind blocking the vote. Oh boy, Nancy's not going to like to hear this one. Then we have big details as we're strolling on a pier looking for our recon, and the price is right. It's going to go higher than 1.75 because provisions are still being added in and across the board. We're not done there yet. We thought we were done on the recon. We're not. The latest details tonight, direct from Santa Monica. Then student loan debt, more debt could be forgiven. Whose debts are being forgiven? I have the latest details tonight. And then the big details of your fifth stimulus. Next week, Jerome Powell. This week, Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, testifies on Capitol Hill. All of the latest details of what this means for fifth stimulus. Those breaking elements as well. We got a big evening's recording. We're just starting. And this, my friends, is Evenings LA. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers to YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Tonight, 3-hour programming block. You can just sit back and binge watch video after video, 3 hours of it. This one, Evenings LA, Evenings Countdown, and then Street and Stimulus. So subscribe, like this video, and consider becoming a member. Bernie Sanders started it this weekend when he said that the recon has major gaps, meaning that there's big provisions missing from the recon. He started that role of the role starting on Friday. By the weekend, the situation got far more robust as House and Senate Democrats said missing provisions, we're adding them in there. And as Pramila said, her phone is ringing off the hook for negotiations. Let's go over the comments first. Then I'll go over how it's working. Then I'm going to go over the provisions. And then I'm going to have commentary about why this is happening. So we have a comment from Ron Wyden, Senator, Democrat, Progressive, says there's no deal on the recon until the Senate acts. Yeah, there you go. That's sort of the mindset we have, which is no done deal until we actually have a Senate vote. But he makes it even clearer when he says how much stuff is missing. He says there's a significant amount to still do. Whoa. Chris Coons, Democrat, Delaware, says there's dozens of proposals that are expected. Then we have Pramila, House leader of the Progressives, Democrat, Washington, says senators are texting me to say they still want to negotiate. She says her phone's ringing off the hook this weekend. She says senators are going to be able to come to a decision. It's better with 50 votes, then we welcome it as House members, and they should do that. AOC, Democrat, New York, says that there is a lot going on still. House Democrats really haven't heard any sort of commitments on what the Senate is actually going to be able to pass. So they need to have openness and willingness to negotiate, and that's where it looks like it's going. But we need a little bit more than an IOU. Her confirming as well, negotiations continuing. Senator Debbie Stabenow, who's a Democrat from Michigan, says it's very possible the negotiations are continuing. And then Chuck Schumer, as I said earlier in this video, he is now putting this new recon version to the Senate parliamentarian this week to determine the significance of keeping the immigration reform in there. It's likely to come out. If it comes out, there's more work on the recon again. And that money could be reallocated to you. Murphy says, my impression is stuff will change. So what's important to know is that these comments come after Bernie, who said much the same going into the weekend. Bernie said going into the weekend that there were huge gaps in the recon. Let me go over his quote. Said during a walk in the Senate floors on Friday. It's the best bill since the 1960s, but has major gaps, he says. Americans are sick and tired of having to pay for higher prescription medication. There's no language in there with dealing with higher prescription medication. I'm glad for the expansion to cover hearing, but if the vote happens, there needs to be explicit language. And the second of this, it needs to be a good bill made better. Now, let's go over the details as we understand right tonight where, how, and when this vote happens. You had seen a very, very strange circumstances of Thursday when I had predicted to you that the roads and bridges were going to get called for a vote in the House. It did get teed up, but it didn't happen. Tonight we know a little bit more about that, but first let me read Bernie's comment, which is, members of the House will have to have assurances, a new quote from Bernie, members of the House will have to have assurances. We don't want to see the infrastructure voted on in the House until we have the Senate vote on the recon by 50 votes. I want to see the language improve. Best bill in many years, but still needs to improve. All right, first let's go over Bernie's comment about Senate versus House. Very, very important. When you look at this recon, where are we and how does that differ from the roads and bridges? The roads and bridges only has one thing left, a House vote. The roads and bridges passed in the Senate. All they're waiting for is one vote in the House, and it's done. It's law. The recon, not the same situation. Recon has both House and Senate to vote on it. But here's part of what's important. They know that the recon will pass the House. They don't know if it'll pass the Senate. Yeah, assurances from all the senators, but not enough until there's actual vote. So that's why they're saying you cannot, I'm going to go slow because it's a little complicated. You cannot call the vote on the roads and bridges in the House until you have the recon called and passed in the Senate first. Yeah, recon Senate first before roads and bridges House. Now, something brand new tonight on Evenings at LALATE is we have learned that the president is the one that's protecting the recon by not being part of the roads and bridges called for vote first in the House. Yeah, this is very fascinating. On Thursday, 2 months ago in September, the Nancy Pelosi tried to call the vote on the roads and bridges. It didn't happen. The progressives voted it down. Earlier this last week, Pramila and Pelosi kept on meeting, and Pelosi said, "I'm calling the vote on the roads and bridges." Pramila says, "Don't do it. You're not going to. We're going to block it. The progressives are going to block it. We have enough progressives." So, what did Pelosi do? Pelosi then heard that from Pramila and tried to go around Pramila by going to the president, and had the president agree to come to meet with the Democrats on both the House and Senate Thursday morning. You saw the pictures. You saw the video. Pelosi and the president walking the halls of Congress hand in hand. She delivering him, and she was expecting him to say, "Vote for the roads and bridges Thursday night." She never heard that. It never came from his mouth. And in fact, she expected him to say that. What happened? After the president got on the plane and flew out to Rome, 3 people clustered. Who were they? Steny Hoyer, Nancy Pelosi, and Jim Clyburn. They were furious the president didn't say call the vote. In fact, the actual quote was that, and this is an off-the-record quote, but a person close to the meeting said, Steny Hoyer says it all boils down to the fact that there wasn't an ask from the president. If the president doesn't ask, it doesn't happen. Pramila confirms that during those meetings with the president, Pelosi, and the Democrat caucus, Pelosi said we should call the vote, but the president never asked it. The president did not ask for a vote on the roads and bridges. The speaker did, but not the president. Why is this big, and how did this happen? Tonight we know why. The president's chief of staff, his name is Ron Klain, and he reportedly is not close to the moderate Democrats. He's very close to the progressives. And so Pramila was always talking with the chief of staff daily for the last few weeks, but really reached out to Klain early last week and said, "Listen, I think Pelosi's going to try to call the vote on the roads and bridges. Don't have the president say anything about the roads and bridges vote. You can talk about how good it is. We agree it's good, but don't talk about the vote." And that is what Ron Klain got. He got the president to walk into the meeting and not mention the voting date or the time of the roads and bridges, so that it was teed up in a way that it protected the progressives. That is why tonight we know that progressives' comments early last week that said don't underestimate the power of the progressives. We now know the power was not the voting power, but the strategy power, that they went behind Pelosi, went right to the president because they expected Pelosi to use the president to say call the vote. The president did not do it because the progressives had gotten to Ron Klain first. Whoa, very, very fascinating. Price is right, 1.75 trillion. That's what that recon is going to be at the moment, but it likely will go higher. It's not going to go smaller. We have the confirmation from everyone involved that the recon is not going smaller, but the president still wants $2 trillion. Negotiations continue. The president never said we made an agreement at 1.7. The president said we got it down to 1.75, but there was no formalization that was formally at 1.75. It could still go higher, and the negotiations you can see later in this video shows that it may go higher. So programs in, programs out. Let's go over all the details starting right now. If you're new to this video, new to this channel, let me tell you, when I say something in, it's in at the time of this recording. If I say it's out at the time of this recording. It's not a lifetime. It's just the situation right now. Number 2. President's not briefing the American people accurately because it's hard to remember all the programs. And his cabinet members not doing a good job as well, often referring to programs as 10 years when they're 1 year. Also, it's important to understand that I'm looking at my notes and I'm cross-referencing against what broadcast media is published on their websites. And some of these eligibilities, some of these numbers don't make sense that they're publishing. So I will detail for you where I think something doesn't make sense. Here we go. Pre-kindergarten, totally free. This is for 1 year. 3 and 4 year olds, it's about 6 million American children. Then the child tax credit, they're going to do this for one more year, $3,600 or $3,000. Here come my notes. I have this as 60,000. I have it as low income. I have them trying to get to 110,000. What is broadcast media saying? 150,000. What? 150,000. I never heard that number. I don't think that's accurate. I don't think it's accurate. $150,000 would be middle class. $150,000 annual salary is not low income. You can certainly afford $3,600 if you're making $150,000 a year. I don't think that's accurate. Earned income tax credit, the EIC, the hazard pay extended for one more year. Home health care, yes, we got that in there. Great news. This is for people who are seniors and people on disabilities. This would be Medicare coverage for home health care. This says permanently. I don't think, I just see it right now. I'm like, through the mask, I see the word permanently. No, this is not permanent. I don't know where this stuff is coming from. Permanently improving. No, it's not a permanent funding of the program. It's not a lifetime. I don't think that's the case at all. Then hearing services would also be covered now through Medicare. Brand new. Good news for that. Then we got the money for the home repairs. Good across the board. The money for the home repairs got in there. That is $150 billion for things like construction, rehab, and improvements of more than 1 million affordable homes and also low-income homes, low-income communities. The Pell Grant, $550 more going out to students. Then free school meals. You get a free meal if you're currently in school, 8.7 million children during the school year. If you're not in school, then $65 a month per child. And there you go. So that brings us to the confusion of why certain provisions went out and certain provisions went in. If there was one thing I would really want to know that I can't report to you because I don't know the answer, is why is no one asking Bernie or these negotiators how provisions got removed, why they got removed, when they got removed, because the situation is very unclear. All we're being told is we're waking up one morning, it's out. Wait a second, it was in 2 hours ago, it's out. Who took it out? When did it take it out? Why did it get taken out? And the case of Joe Manchin, that is only the situation when we have really good clarity. In the case of a Joe Manchin situation, that he says, I don't want paid leave, it's out. But in the rest of these other provisions, we don't know. So let's go over the details starting right now. The dental, vision, hearing, Medicare expansion, and also the prescription medication makes no sense. Let's start with the first one. The cheaper prescription medication, let's read Bernie's comment. People are being ripped off by pharmaceuticals, paying more than 10% more for medication than in other countries. And Big Pharma has 15 paid lobbyists right in Congress trying to block us from doing this. Any bill must have a lower, bigger negotiations on cheaper prescription medication. He said the same thing on Friday when asked about what's missing from the recon. He said, it's the best bill since the 1960s, but it's unconscionable that it doesn't have cheaper medication. Now, this is where it's weird, wacko, doesn't make sense. What happened? The prescription medication was a topic of negotiation for months. Of course, it was passed in the House subcommittee. The House members put it in there, and it was passed, 3.5 weeks ago. But Kristen Sinema didn't want it in there, so the negotiations continued. By Wednesday morning, we woke up and we still had in there the cheaper medication if you're on Medicare Plan B, which is diabetes medication. It was in there. Good. One win there. Then Bernie met with the president on Wednesday and came out. He was upset. We don't know why he was upset. Something in the negotiations didn't go well. Well, it wasn't this provision. Why? Because the president picked up the phone and called Kristen Sinema and negotiated with her Wednesday night. Why? Over the last few months, Sinema did not want to do anything for medication. I mean, she has Big Pharma in her pockets. So he negotiated with her and she said, yes, I'll expand the cheaper medication to other programs. Good. Big win. Number 2. You wake up Thursday, all gone. All gone. The Medicare Plan B, gone. The cheaper medication, gone. Not particularly clear who took it out. Pelosi? No. President? No. Sinema? No. Bernie? No. Who took it out? No one's telling us. No one's telling us why it was taken out, who took it out, why it would be taken out. If the president negotiates with someone on one day, why would the next day it's out after they formalize its inclusion? Not clear. And that's why Bernie Sanders is upset, among other reasons. Number 2, He says the wealthiest country in the globe, but we have no money for teeth, our people's mouths, and they have no vision and hearing. This is baffling. Why? Let's look at the situation first. Dental, vision, and hearing. 3 different items. Dental, the most expensive. Vision, the cheapest. Why is vision the cheapest not in there? Doesn't make sense. Vision, eye exam, new pair of glasses, $150 a year. Very, very cheap. Helps a lot of people. A lot of people need vision. It's not dependent upon your age. This vision, just a lot of people need vision help. And hearing may only be kicking in for people maybe in the 70s when the hearing starts to go, maybe 80s. So hearing more expensive and less broadly needed than vision not in there. Why? It's so cheap compared to hearing. Doesn't make sense. Now, when we go to the dental, this absolutely makes no sense because guess what? We had seen 1, 2, 3 steps on this dental and poof, it was gone. Bernie wanted 10 years. They said no. Then the president said, okay, I'll do it 3 years. You got to have it in there. President ran on this. 3 years, dental. Not in there at 3 years. Then they said, let's do a voucher, $800 a year. I didn't like the voucher. $800 a year is not a lot. But they could have done $800. They were going to do $800 a year for like 1 or 2 or 3 years and then take care of it thereafter. Suddenly what happened was it was out. You woke up Thursday morning and it was out as well. And suddenly part of this equation starts to unravel because then you don't understand why are things in there and then suddenly they're out. Bernie's reaction to the situation, unconscionable. The wealthiest country, people have no teeth in their mouth, cannot hear, cannot see. Is this a red line? Of course it's a red line for Bernie Sanders. What is he going to do with that provision out? Is he going to vote against the recon? He says, I won't answer that question. I won't answer the question if it's not out, but I'm going to make a good bill better. His comment when asked about the question is very clear. Will you support it? I'm not going to answer that question. I got to make a good bill better, but I can answer that. Are you going to add provisions? Of course I'm going to add provisions. Paid medical and family need needs to be in there. It's great that hearing aid are in there, but what about dental, vision, and prescription medication? It's unconscionable that the medication costs are in there and we are not in there. We don't take care of it. Every year we go by and we talk about the provision. Let me go over more of the provisions right now. We're going to go to paid family leave and medical leave. So this one we know is out because of Joe Manchin. Not particularly clear why, but at least we know who caused its removal. Paid leave, medical leave. This doesn't make any sense, folks. I mean, we are the only modern country of the modern era that does not have paid family leave, medical leave. What is it? Your wife's getting pregnant to your first child tomorrow. You need to take off from work. Guess who has to pick up the tab for that? You do. It's on your penny. Why? Because there's no paid family leave at the moment. Paid medical leave. Your son broke his leg and you're a single parent. You have to stay home from work. Who's going to pick up the tab? You do. Why? Doesn't make any sense that we don't have this as part of our landscape of laws. Pelosi wanted 12 weeks for everyone, for self-employed and gig workers, all economic levels. Decade, $500 billion. Asked too much. Then she dramatically cut it. 4 weeks only, low income only, and only employees. $100 billion. It's really cheap. $100 billion, that's nothing. Well, that did not survive, and I didn't like that. I think it should have included gig workers as well. Child tax credit. Here we go. So this is very peculiar. My note shows that it was $60,000 low income under third stimulus, and they wanted to do it to $110,000, $150,000. I don't think that's accurate reporting. I don't think the child tax credit got in there for 1 year at $150,000. The community college out. The Pell's grant in there for $550,000. The dropping the Medicare expansion to age 60 if you're Bob Casey or 55 to Bernie for eligibility. I don't know why it didn't get in there. The Medicare expansion, this is very peculiar. They got the Medicare expansion due to Raphael Warnock and Claiborne. But if you got it in there, why couldn't you get the rest of it done? The child care, got it in there. Great news on that one. This is across the board. Clean energy out. Health insurance, got it in there. Viewers always send me very kind messages about this. Not as long as initially thought, but a little bit shorter. Housing aid, got that in there. $175 billion, huge. It's only about $78 billion under third stimulus. And in-home health care, got it in there, $100 to $200 billion. And they had asked for that bigger as well. Pelosi on Friday said, I'm adding in the paid leave. I'm going to still try to get it in there. And then The details were that Josh Gothenheimer, Democrat, moderate, the problem creator from New Jersey, wanted the SALT in there. That's a cap on state and local tax deduction he wanted lifted, and that is huge. It helps a lot of people. He says he's going to negotiate to put it in there. So we have House and Senate, moderate and progressives, all saying we're adding stuff to the recon. Why did the president tell us it was done if it wasn't done? I'm going to explain that later in the commentary at the very end of this video. But let's jump over to student loan debt for just a second. More student loan debt could be forgiven. The president has offered now to forgive $10,000 of student loan debt on top of the 3 other rounds he's done first. First, he forgave student loan debts for individuals who became disabled after graduation. Then he forgave student loan debts for people who went to work into the non-public sector 10 years after graduation. And then finally, the president forgave student loan debts for people who went to work in the public sector 10 years after graduation. This is your city, county, state, federal government, and your Department of Mardi Gras. Your student loan debts are forgiven, but now the president's offered to forgive $10,000 on top of that. Let's go over to COLA raise, because guess what? Guess who's talking next week? I am. But also your chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jay Powell, testifying on Capitol Hill, talking about inflation. He has to say, he just absolutely has to say at this point, it's not going to be temporary. It will continue, but it may come in at 1%, 2%, 3% next year. Big news for you, because that's what fifth stimulus does. It replaces COLA with inflation as your new benchmark in 2022. First, your benefits are going to go up 5.9% approximately next year. Then, if fifth stimulus becomes law, then it'll raise it up at 2 more times. First, one time if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, and then another time if you are then an additional time when they apply the inflation benchmark next year. It's going to be 1%, 2%, 3%. You're going to go up that as well. Then under fifth stimulus, they're going to remove the asset cap, remove the income cap, and remove the marriage penalty, and love is going to win, and you'll be able to do a pharaoh dance at your wedding. You'll be able to do a pharaoh dance at your wedding and no longer fear a loss of the marriage penalty. Rob and Sandy will be able to get dressed up as their favorite pharaoh and no longer fear a loss of benefits. Finally, if you haven't become a member, what are you doing? The membership news, the link to become a member is under this video. Become a Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Casino VIP and get that newsletter. It comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube and the LALATE alert system. It details all the big money under first, second, and third stimulus you get. Viewers are getting on average about $40,000 and are still getting it, and there's new rounds of money. You can get some rent, utilities, food, internet, mortgage assistance, and more. And if you got money as well, you can get another round. As we go into a big evening, let me give you my commentary of what happened with this recon and why we were told one thing, but then we were shown another thing. Let me explain what happened. This exclusive analysis and also commentary. So the president went overseas to Rome and then is heading to Glasgow. For what? Climate. What is this climate about? It's a very, very important meeting that would cut global emissions worldwide, country by country, over 10 years. Each country is dedicating its country to a certain level based upon the laws passed in that country. And they're all coming to the table to drop the emissions, with these are the biggest countries consuming 80% of emissions worldwide. Problem with the present situation, he had no law, he had no bill, he didn't even have an agreement, and you know what was about to happen. He was about to land in Rome, and they said, he was about to say, I have an agreement, and there was going to be some countries going to turn to him and say, yeah, what about that guy Joe Manchin in your country? You don't have an agreement. Oh, well, you're misinformed. No, that was the problem. He did not want to go into the global arena, suggesting he did not have an agreement because of 2 dissenters. So, notice anything over this weekend? Yeah, you did. Did you notice anything at the end of last week? Yeah, you did. Once he debuted this recon to the press on that Thursday, he never had any negativity or down statement from Sinema or Manchin. That was the agreement. Deliver the president to the World Forum, to the World Forums on climate, with no dissenters about the recon, so he could get a presentation that would be consistent. It says, I have everyone on board. We're doing this thing for climate. And as soon as he comes back to America, then Sinema and Manchin can say no. And that's potentially likely across the board. Why was this a big issue? Because the climate is a big issue, but you also don't want to look silly on a global forum by saying you have something when you don't have something. What does it mean for us? It's good. Because we have a Bernie, we have a Ron Wyden, and we have all these Democrat senators and House members saying, I'm adding stuff to the recon. You want stuff added to the recon. They're negotiating. They're pushing to negotiate. And as Pramila says, her phone is lining up. People are calling and saying, I want to negotiate. It sounds like us. It sounds like the Purple Power pushing and advocating across the board. And that is why you should be excited. Recon won't shrink. It'll grow. It won't contract. It will grow. We're going to decide the future of that provision about immigration reform from the Senate parliamentarian this next week. But we will learn with that provision, if it's out, then where does that money go? We're going to learn how it's going to look when the president comes back to the shores and he is back on our grounds. Then where are the recon negotiations going? You're going to see a lot of quotes this week in which Pramila and Pelosi talk about this week, get it done this week. It's sort of a universal sort of theme at the moment. I think people understand what it is at the moment and what it isn't. But the great news is that it's a good bill. As Bernie says, it needs to be better. It's a good bill. It needs to get better. And getting it better involves advocacy. And advocacy involves us. And that is why you have to make those calls. If you get voicemail, leave a message. I need it because. This is why my family needs it because. My dental, my vision, my hearing, my community, my church, my business. This is why we need it because. And guess what? We got a 3-hour programming block tonight on this channel. It's a 3-hour binge block. You got Evenings LA, Evenings Countdown, and then Extreme Stimulus. 3 shows back to back. Just sit back and enjoy as it sends you from one show to the next. Then we got shows at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11:30 tonight, all about forced stimulus, all very helpful because they're the same programs. So with that, I don't want you to miss a single video. And subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member to get that newsletter that comes out Monday through Friday. It's a big evening. Join me with other shows throughout the night. Join me early morning tomorrow, starting at 3 a.m. with new shows as well. And stay positive, stay focused, keep on motivating, keep on advocating. How many calls have you made today, as Jennifer would say? Keep on advocating across the board because the recon is about advocating for the provisions you want in the recon and how big you want those provisions, at what payout, and what eligibility. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful evening, and stay with LA for more.